country keeps ripping itself apart is because people have forgotten how to listen to pain without making it about themselves. And from the outside looking in, something I've noticed over and over again is that a lot of black people are not asking to be worshipped. They're not asking for pity. They're not asking for special treatment. A lot of the time, most of the time, they're just trying to explain what life has felt like for them and their families. And somehow, the second those conversations start, everything turns into a debate. No listening, no understanding, no curiosity, a debate. Are you sure it was racism? Well, that happens to everybody. Just get over it. My family struggled too. You're playing victim. You're dividing people. That was a long time ago. Just work harder. And it's like, damn, can somebody speak about pain without immediately being cross-examined like they're in court? Because what I think a lot of people don't understand is that when somebody talks about racial trauma, discrimination, oppression, or generational and ancestral pain, they're usually not saying every white person is evil. They're talking about patterns, systems, history, environment, institutions, treatment, oppression, the psychological way of constantly feeling misunderstood, stereotyped, over-policed, unheard, or emotionally dismissed. And I feel like some people instantly get defensive because acknowledging somebody else's reality forces them to question the version of reality they were raised to believe. That discomfort is very real because if you grew up never experiencing certain things, it's easy to assume they barely exist. If you've never been followed around stores, never had teachers assume less of you before you even spoke, never felt pressure to code switch just to seem safe, never had your natural features mocked, never had people fear you before knowing you, never had generations of trauma sitting underneath your family structure, then of course certain conversations are going to sound exaggerated to you. And it's not because you're automatically a bad person, it's because human beings struggle to fully understand pain they've never personally had to carry. And honestly, the more I observe, the more I realize that's where I think a lot of the division comes from. People hear pain as accusation instead of communication. So instead of listening, they defend themselves. Instead of asking questions, they shut down. Instead of empathy, it becomes ego protection. It turns into just this debate, deflection, dismissiveness, rejection. And that's exhausting for people who already feel unheard. Imagine opening up about something painful and constantly being told, that didn't happen, it's not that bad, you're overreacting, you're too sensitive, you're the real racist for bringing it up. Do people realize how psychologically draining that is? To feel like you have to provide a PowerPoint presentation every time you talk about your own lived experience just to earn basic human understanding? And again, this is not about blaming all white people. There are plenty of white people who listen, care, empathize, educate themselves, and genuinely try to understand perspectives outside their own. But there's also a real consistent cultural issue where conversations about race immediately become centered around white discomfort instead of black pain. And that's the problem, because healing cannot happen if the people speaking about wounds are instantly forced to emotionally babysit the people listening. Sometimes people don't need a debate, they need humanity. They just need you to shut the fuck up and listen. And I think another uncomfortable truth people avoid talking about is how segregated a lot of society still is, even now. Not always legally, but socially, economically, culturally, systemically, educationally. A lot of people grow up in environments where they barely have meaningful relationships with people outside their race, outside their neighborhood, outside their worldview, outside their environment, outside their culture. So they end up learning about black people through stereotypes, headlines, social media clips, political propaganda, music caricatures, agendas, false racist, outdated narratives, crime statistics stripped of context, or internet outrage instead of actual human connection. And then people wonder why empathy is broken, why we're still divided, why there's so many racial issues in this country. You cannot fully understand somebody's humanity if your only exposure to them is through fear, stereotypes, or surface level interactions. That is conditioning. And I think what a lot of black people are truly asking for is not guilt, it's acknowledgement. That's it. Acknowledgement that history leaves scars, acknowledgement that systems can affect people differently, acknowledgement that generational trauma is 110% real, acknowledgement that discrimination did not magically disappear just because laws changed, acknowledgement that being constantly invalidated hurts. That's it. That's fucking it. You don't have to hate yourself to acknowledge somebody else's suffering. You don't have to personally experience an injury to believe somebody when they say they're bleeding. And honestly, I think this country would heal a lot faster if people stopped treating empathy like surrender. Listening does not erase you. Understanding somebody else's pain does not attack your identity. Acknowledging racism exists does not mean every white person is evil. And speaking about racial pain does not automatically mean somebody is spreading division. Sometimes people are just fucking tired, man. Tired of feeling unseen, dismissed, tired of explaining themselves, tired of carrying generations of pain while also being told that pain doesn't exist. And I think if more people had the emotional maturity to sit with uncomfortable truths without instantly becoming defensive, we would finally start having real conversations instead of rehearsed arguments. Because at the end of the day, this isn't even about politics. This is just about humanity. And humanity starts dying the second people care more about protecting their comfort than understanding somebody else's pain.